Have you ever wondered why every time you decide to start something important, a goal, a life change, you feel a strong pull, as if something is pulling you back? You think you need a break, a little relaxation, just for a while, and then you'll get started. But then, as the days go by, you find yourself doing nothing but procrastinating. This feeling seems familiar, doesn't it? But there's something that few people realize. That feeling of comfort and ease is actually a lurking enemy, silently stealing your time and energy. And if you're not careful, it can keep you stuck in a vicious cycle. So how do you escape this trap? How do you stop letting comfort or procrastination drag you down? The answer may surprise you. It's not an exercise or a strategy, but an ancient philosophy of life, passed down through the ages from masters like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, Stoicism. In this video, we'll explore how Stoicism can help you confront and overcome this mental trap, and thereby become a stronger, more self-aware version of yourself. Ready? Find out now. Picture this, it's 4 a.m. Darkness cloaks your room, and the silence is heavy, almost tangible. Your alarm is poised to break through at any second, a reminder of the promise you made to yourself just hours earlier. Tomorrow is the day it all changes, you declared. Tomorrow, I begin. But as the alarm pierces the stillness, something else stirs within you. A voice, soft, persuasive, almost irresistible, whispers, "Just 5 more minutes. You've earned it. You can always start tomorrow." Sound familiar? It should. This isn't just a moment of indecision, it's a crossroads. A seemingly insignificant choice, yet one with the power to define your path. What if I told you that in this split second, your future is taking shape? It's not just about silencing the alarm or starting that morning routine. It's about honoring a promise, one that reflects your dedication to consistency, discipline, and living with purpose. The Stoics believed that every action we take, no matter how small, reflects our philosophy of life. By choosing to rise when it's hard, you're forging a bond with your future self, a commitment to growth over comfort. Yet, the struggle is universal. Studies reveal that 92% of people abandon their New Year's resolutions before February. This isn't just a statistic, it's a mirror to the battle we face daily, the tug-of-war between fleeting ease and lasting fulfillment. Nature, in its infinite wisdom, offers us a model of unwavering consistency. The sun rises, seasons shift, the heart beats, all in perfect rhythm. Yet we, capable of reason and reflection, falter in maintaining that same order in our lives. Why? Why do we, designed to thrive with discipline and resilience, often choose the path of least resistance? Today, let's uncover how embracing the Stoic principles of commitment and courage can reshape not just our mornings but our entire lives. Because this isn't just about getting up early, it's about rising to meet the best version of yourself. Imagine the world outside still wrapped in shadows, silent and untouched by the chaos of the day. It's 4 a.m., and your alarm shatters the stillness like a challenge thrown into the quiet. For a fleeting moment, you feel the weight of potential, the chance to seize the day, to take control, to be the person you aspire to become. But then, like clockwork, that voice emerges. Soft, soothing, seductive. Just 5 more minutes, it whispers. You've worked hard. You deserve a little more rest. Tomorrow will be better. This moment feels familiar, doesn't it? It's not just about waking up, it's about so much more. It's about standing at the intersection of comfort and commitment. The decision you make here, as small as it seems, is a defining one. It sets the tone for your day and ripples into the rest of your life. Will you rise, honoring the promise you made to yourself? Or will you yield, letting another opportunity slip through your fingers? Our actions must align with not just our intentions but our deepest values, our highest ideals. Every decision, no matter how minor, carries the weight of who we are and who we're becoming. This is the essence of Stoicism, recognizing that the smallest moments often hold the greatest power. Today, I want to take you on a journey, one that dives into the heart of Stoic philosophy and daily discipline. Together, we'll explore how to transform fleeting choices into lasting change, how to build a life of purpose and resilience, one small decision at a time. If these ideas resonate with you, I have a simple request. Hit that subscribe button and share this video with someone who, like you, is striving for self-discipline and growth. Whether you're just beginning this journey or you've been navigating the path for years, I promise that what we uncover today will challenge your perspective and inspire new possibilities. So, stay with me until the end. Because in this exploration, you may just find the key to turning everyday struggles into the building blocks of profound transformation. Now, let's dive into the core of Stoicism and the power of daily consistency. Are you delaying today's goals, waiting for a more convenient moment? For the Stoics, this isn't just procrastination, it's a test of character, a chance to strengthen your resolve against the seductive pull of comfort and inertia. Marcus Aurelius captured this perfectly when he wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work, as a human being. What do I have to complain of, if I'm going to do what I was born for? The things I was brought into the world to do?" This isn't merely about waking up early or sticking to a routine. It's about something far deeper, a covenant you make with yourself. A promise to act in alignment with your highest ideals and to embody the principles you hold dear. In Stoic philosophy, consistency is more than a habit, it's a virtue. It's the disciplined, deliberate choice to honor your values, no matter how tempting the alternative might be. Each time you choose to rise when comfort beckons, you invest in your future self. Picture it as a deposit into the account of who you are becoming, a stronger, more resilient version of yourself. Conversely, every time you surrender to ease, it's a small withdrawal, a quiet betrayal of your long-term goals. The Stoics understood that greatness isn't built in grand, singular gestures but in the small, consistent actions repeated over time. Nature itself is the ultimate model of this consistency. The sun rises, seasons shift, rivers flow, all with unerring regularity. If the universe can adhere to this rhythm, why can't we? By choosing discipline over delay, you're not just completing a task, you're aligning yourself with this natural order. You're practicing resilience. You're actively shaping the person you aspire to be. So, that seemingly trivial moment, the choice between staying in bed and rising to meet the day, becomes profound. It's not just a part of your morning, it's a defining moment in your life. A moment where you prove, not to anyone else but to yourself, that you're committed to growth, to purpose, and to living a life of intention. The question is, will you embrace it? Will you rise and step into the person you're meant to be, or will you let the voice of comfort hold you back, keeping you tethered to the same place? Every morning, the battle with the alarm is more than just a wake-up call. It's an invitation to strengthen your willpower, test your resolve, and align your actions with your values. It's Stoicism in motion, a real-time exercise in living a life guided not by fleeting moods but by unshakable purpose. We've all felt it, that initial rush of motivation when starting something new. The surge of energy, the burning determination to change, to finally break free of old habits and create new ones. Maybe it comes with the promise of a new year, the freshness of a Monday, or the clarity of a new mindset. You set your goals, craft your plan, and vow that this time will be different. Yet, days or weeks later, that fire dims. The routines you were so eager to embrace start to feel heavy. You find yourself slipping back into the comfort of old patterns, questioning if change is even possible. This isn't just a personal failing, it's a deeply human experience. Research shows that about 92% of people abandon their goals shortly after setting them. It's as if an invisible force pulls us back, away from progress, toward the familiarity of our old selves. The Stoics understood this struggle intimately. They didn't view it as weakness or a reason to give up. Instead, they saw it as the core of the human experience, the eternal conflict between comfort and growth. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Every moment of resistance, whether it's the pull of an extra hour of sleep or the temptation to stay within your comfort zone, is an opportunity, a chance to rise above it. To turn those obstacles into stepping stones. To transform what holds you back into the very fuel for your ascent. This internal battle isn't just a challenge, it's a gift. A daily chance to practice resilience, to embrace discomfort, and to prove to yourself that you are capable of more. The question is, will you take that step? Will you rise to meet the day, not just for the sake of the morning but for the sake of the life you're building? It's not just about motivation, it's about our relationship with discipline, about cultivating the will to rise above fleeting desires in pursuit of something greater. Carl Jung captured this perfectly: you are what you do, not what you say you'll do. Setting goals feels like progress, but without action, those goals are empty promises. Real growth comes not from grand intentions but from the simple, consistent act of showing up, especially on the days when it feels hardest. There's a psychological struggle at the heart of this challenge. Jung referred to it as facing the shadow, the part of ourselves that clings to safety and comfort, resisting the discomfort of growth. Similarly, the Stoics recognized this internal resistance, viewing it not as a flaw but as an opportunity. They understood that overcoming this struggle requires more than bursts of motivation. It demands steady, daily commitment to becoming the person we aspire to be. This universal fight against inconsistency is, at its core, a fight for freedom. Every time we surrender to comfort, we allow our impulses to control us. We become captives to our moods, slaves to fleeting desires. The Stoics sought to break free from this cycle, training their minds to stay centered and grounding their actions in values rather than feelings. For Epictetus, true freedom wasn't external, it was mastery over oneself, the ability to align one's actions with one's beliefs and aspirations. When we practice consistency, we're not just building habits, we're building freedom. Each disciplined choice strengthens our resolve, granting us greater control over our lives. We become architects of our own growth, no longer bound by the whims of comfort or convenience. If you've ever felt the initial rush of motivation, only to find yourself slipping back into old habits, know this: it's not failure. It's a natural part of the process, a shared human experience. The real measure of success lies not in avoiding these moments but in how you respond to them. Will you let them define you, or will you use them as fuel to rise again? Each day is a new chance to break the cycle, to face your shadow, and to take one more step toward the freedom of self-mastery. This is a universal human experience, a struggle that thinkers and philosophers have wrestled with for centuries. The challenge isn't in desiring change, it's in committing to that change every single day. And it's here, within this shared struggle, that Stoicism offers a profound and practical path forward, not through quick fixes or bursts of fleeting inspiration but through a steady, deliberate dedication to becoming who we truly aspire to be. For the Stoics, consistency wasn't a burden or a chore. It was a reflection of their deepest values, a way of living that brought alignment between their actions and their beliefs. They saw consistency not as mere habit but as an act of intention, a daily opportunity to embody the virtues they cherished, even when it was inconvenient or uncomfortable. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most celebrated voices, treated each day as a practice in living true to his principles. His approach wasn't dictated by emotion or circumstance but by a commitment to integrity. He famously wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." For Marcus, the measure of a life well lived wasn't found in grand declarations but in the simple, consistent effort to act with purpose and honor every day. The Stoic understanding of consistency is one of resilience and self-mastery. They viewed each act of consistency as a step toward inner freedom, a way to liberate oneself from the unpredictable whims of mood, motivation, and external circumstances. For the Stoics, true power didn't come from waiting for inspiration. It came from cultivating a discipline so ingrained that it became second nature. This perspective challenges the common belief that motivation is necessary to stay consistent. In Stoicism, consistency isn't about chasing the high of inspiration, it's about forging a foundation of discipline so strong that it carries you through, even on the days when motivation is nowhere to be found. Every day is an opportunity to practice this discipline, to align your actions with your values, and to strengthen the bond between who you are and who you want to become. The Stoics knew that mastery over oneself wasn't achieved in a single moment but built brick by brick through daily choices. Will you take that step today? Lasting change isn't born from a single flash of inspiration, it's forged through steady, repeated action. Just as water, with its gentle yet relentless flow, can carve through solid rock, we shape our character through the daily, consistent choices we make. This idea is echoed in Carl Jung's profound insight: transformation requires more than the desire to change. It demands the courage to act repeatedly, even when our desires and impulses threaten to pull us back into the comfort of familiarity. Jung believed that every person carries a shadow, a part of ourselves that resists growth and craves safety over the discomfort of transformation. The Stoics recognized this shadow too, but rather than waging a direct battle against it, they chose a more profound strategy: transcendence. By consistently aligning their actions with their highest values, day after day, they gradually quieted the shadow's influence, weakening its hold by refusing to feed it. Consider the story of Epictetus, a man who began his life as a slave yet became one of the most influential Stoic philosophers. Despite lacking control over his external circumstances, he recognized an undeniable truth: while the world around him was uncertain, his responses, his choices, and his will were entirely his own. He trained himself to remain steady, to act in accordance with his principles no matter the challenges he faced. This unwavering commitment to self-discipline became the cornerstone of his philosophy. For Epictetus, freedom wasn't about escaping hardship or finding external stability. It was about mastering his inner world. It was about choosing his response to life, moment by moment, with deliberate action. This self-mastery granted him a profound sense of freedom, one that no external force could take away. The lesson is clear: our shadows, our resistance, and our impulses are not our enemies, but opportunities to rise above. Every time we choose to act in alignment with our values, we diminish their power and move closer to the person we're meant to be. Change isn't easy, but it's simple. Show up, act with intention, and let your consistent effort carve a path toward transformation. In Stoicism, unwavering consistency is more than just a practice, it's a virtue in itself. It is a way of cultivating strength, integrity, and inner peace. While many are swayed by their moods or circumstances, the Stoics grounded themselves in their values, allowing these values to guide every action. This commitment to consistency was their method for achieving what Carl Jung might call individuation, the process of becoming whole, integrated, and true to oneself. For the Stoics, consistency was the path to wholeness, a way of becoming fully aligned with their purpose and who they were meant to be. When we talk about barriers, we often think of external obstacles, tight deadlines, overwhelming workloads, or lack of resources. But the truth is, the most challenging barriers are the ones we build within ourselves. The Stoics understood this deeply, recognizing that inner resistance is one of life's greatest teachers. Seneca once wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." This insight speaks to the heart of the struggle we face. Many of the walls that seem to obstruct our path are built from our own doubts, fears, and desire for comfort. Recognizing this truth is the first step to dismantling these self-imposed barriers. These internal obstacles are subtle. They show up as excuses: "I'll start tomorrow," "I'm too tired," or "I'm just not ready." Each time we give in to these thoughts, we strengthen the wall, making it a little higher, a little thicker. Carl Jung understood this resistance as a natural part of the psyche, what he called the shadow. The shadow is that part of us that avoids growth, preferring familiarity and comfort over the discomfort of change. According to Jung, ignoring or fighting against the shadow only gives it more power. The Stoics, however, had a different approach. Rather than battling the shadow directly, they accepted it as a natural part of the human experience. Instead of trying to eradicate resistance, they chose to act in alignment with their highest values, regardless of the internal struggle. In doing so, they weakened the shadow's influence, making it less of a force in their lives. Each decision to act consistently, even when it was difficult or inconvenient, became a small victory over the internal barriers that sought to keep them from their true path. This approach is not about denying our doubts or fears, it's about acknowledging them and choosing to rise above them. The Stoics knew that the true challenge was not in avoiding discomfort but in choosing to act in the face of it. Every time they chose to remain consistent in their values and actions, they made a deliberate choice to become the person they were meant to be, a person unshaken by the whims of mood or circumstance. This is the power of consistency. It's not just about building habits, but about shaping the person you are and will continue to become. The Stoics practiced acknowledging their inner resistance without allowing it to dictate their actions. Marcus Aurelius, in particular, confronted his own resistance head-on, treating each obstacle as an opportunity to grow stronger. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This mindset transforms barriers into teachers. Instead of seeing challenges as reasons to stop, the Stoic approach encourages us to lean into them, to face the discomfort as part of our development. Each time we push against these barriers, we become a little more resilient, a bit more equipped to face the next one. In this way, the walls that once confined us become stepping stones on our journey. For many of us, comfort is one of the biggest barriers to growth. It's easy to fall into routines that don't challenge us because they feel safe and familiar. But as Epictetus reminds us, no man is free who is not master of himself. Every time we choose comfort over challenge, we hand over control to the part of us that wants to stay the same. Real freedom, according to the Stoics, comes from mastering this part of ourselves, breaking free from the patterns that keep us small. This mastery isn't about denying our desire for comfort, it's about putting that desire in its proper place. Stoicism teaches us to embrace discomfort as a necessary part of growth, to see it as a sign that we're pushing past our limits. Each challenge we encounter is an opportunity to practice the Stoic virtues, especially courage. Every uncomfortable moment, every test of will, is a chance to strengthen our character and shape ourselves into the person we aspire to be. The Stoics understood that true freedom doesn't come from avoiding discomfort, but from learning to act in spite of it. By embracing this discomfort, we not only free ourselves from the control of fleeting desires but also unlock the path to lasting transformation. This is the essence of Stoic mastery, choosing the harder path in the moment, knowing it leads to greater strength and fulfillment in the long run. Discipline and resilience are like muscles that grow stronger through resistance. Just as our physical muscles adapt and increase in strength when pushed to their limits, our character evolves and deepens when we face and push against our inner walls. The Stoics did not view challenges as unfortunate setbacks, rather, they saw them as essential parts of the human experience. Each challenge, each moment of difficulty, was an opportunity to practice virtue. With each barrier we break, we move closer to the person we are meant to become. Carl Jung famously said, "What you resist persists," suggesting that the barriers within us don't simply disappear by being ignored. Instead, they grow louder and more persistent, making it harder to move past them. The Stoics understood this concept deeply and believed that acceptance was key to overcoming these internal obstacles. By acknowledging our resistance without letting it control us, we are free to act in line with our values. Each barrier then becomes an invitation to know ourselves better, to see where we are still clinging to comfort rather than embracing growth. The resistance we encounter is often subtle, disguised as kindness to ourselves, a well-deserved break, a chance to recharge, or a moment to rest. But over time, the pull of comfort becomes more than just a reprieve. It turns into a habit, a safe haven we return to again and again. This habitual return to comfort can quietly take control of our lives, keeping us from pursuing the hard work of growth. The Stoics had a clear view of comfort. They saw it as a dangerous sedative, lulling us into complacency. Comfort convinces us that there's always tomorrow, that there's always another chance to act on our goals. But as Marcus Aurelius reminds us, this is a trap. Each morning, when the alarm goes off and we feel the resistance to rise, we can counter it with his reminder, I have to go to work. He saw purpose, not ease, as the true calling of life. To rise each day with purpose and discipline, not to indulge in the fleeting satisfaction of comfort, was the Stoic path. It wasn't about denying rest, but about refusing to allow comfort to dictate our actions or become a reason to delay the work of becoming who we truly want to be. In embracing discomfort, we train ourselves to transcend the pull of immediate pleasure, and in doing so, we grow into the people we are meant to be. Each act of discipline, no matter how small, brings us one step closer to inner freedom and true fulfillment. As a human being, Marcus Aurelius emphasized that the work he referred to was the work of virtue, of doing what is right and necessary, regardless of how comfortable or uncomfortable it might feel. For the Stoics, this daily choice between comfort and discipline was not just a challenge, but the very essence of life itself. To choose comfort was to betray one's purpose, to abandon the commitment to growth and integrity. Carl Jung, in psychological terms, identified this pull toward comfort as part of the shadow, that part of us that resists change and prefers the familiarity of the known over the challenge of the unknown. Jung believed that the comfort-seeking part of us often masks deeper fears, the fear of failure, of stepping into uncertainty, or confronting parts of ourselves that might be uncomfortable to face. Comfort, therefore, becomes a defense mechanism, a way to protect ourselves from the discomfort of growth. But in doing so, it keeps us from realizing our full potential, from becoming whole. Think about it, every time we choose comfort over growth, we reinforce a habit of avoidance. We become accustomed to taking the easier road, and soon that road becomes the only path we know. The Stoics recognized that true progress requires us to resist this temptation. Epictetus famously said that we must undergo a hard winter of training and not rush into things for which we haven't prepared. For Epictetus, resisting comfort was a form of training, a discipline that prepared the mind and spirit for life's inevitable challenges. He saw comfort as a temporary pleasure, a fleeting indulgence, while discipline was a constant, enduring force that cultivated resilience, fortitude, and strength. By choosing discipline over comfort, we prepare ourselves not just for the inevitable hardships of life, but for the personal growth that comes from stepping outside the familiar, the easy, and the comfortable. Ultimately, the Stoics understood that this resistance to comfort is not a denial of enjoyment or rest but an intentional choice to elevate purpose and character above momentary satisfaction. By embracing the discomfort of growth, we develop the virtues of courage, resilience, and wisdom, qualities that not only shape us into who we are meant to become, but also bring us closer to a life of meaning and fulfillment. The Stoics understood that growth is a long-term investment in one's character and resilience. The problem with comfort is that it promises peace but often delivers stagnation. It's easy to say, "I'll start tomorrow," but each delay reinforces a habit of inaction, and soon weeks, months, or even years pass without meaningful progress. Comfort can feel like a warm cocoon that shields us from the world, but it also prevents us from growing, from stretching into the person we want to become. The Stoics believe that true growth comes from challenging the self, pushing past what feels easy and familiar. As Seneca famously said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." For the Stoics, true peace was not found in avoiding challenges but in confronting them and proving to ourselves that we can overcome adversity. The irony of comfort is that while it feels good in the moment, it often leads to long-term dissatisfaction. A life spent avoiding difficulty becomes a life devoid of the pride that comes from accomplishment, the satisfaction that arises from pushing through and overcoming obstacles. The Stoics understood that the greatest rewards come not from a life of ease, but from a life of purpose, of struggle, and of overcoming challenges. Every time we choose discomfort, we grow a little stronger, a little more resilient. Over time, this resilience builds a deep inner peace, a confidence that remains unshaken by life's inevitable hardships. To live as a Stoic, then, is to see comfort as a challenge in itself, a test of our commitment to our values. It's easy to stay in bed, to postpone our goals, or to choose the path of least resistance. But the Stoics remind us that the path of growth is rarely easy, and it is precisely through overcoming the discomforts that we become who we are meant to be. The real enemy is not the difficulty of the task, but the voice that tells us we don't need to try. It's the seductive whisper of comfort, promising peace but delivering only regret. In breaking free from this habit of comfort, we reclaim our lives, we return to our values, our purpose, and our inner strength. Through this process, we begin to align more closely with the person we wish to be, embodying the Stoic principle of living in accordance with nature, resilient, steady, and unshaken by the unpredictable swings of fortune. Rising above the pull of comfort is not merely an act of discipline, it is an act of freedom. By choosing growth over ease, we claim our true power, stepping onto the path of a life well lived. This might seem paradoxical at first. After all, when we think of freedom, we often imagine complete flexibility, the ability to do whatever we want, whenever we want. But the Stoics saw freedom differently. To them, true freedom wasn't about escaping commitment or avoiding discipline. It was about mastering oneself to the point where external circumstances no longer dictate our actions. In this sense, consistency and daily discipline, both in thought and in action, become the foundation of true freedom. It's the ability to act in accordance with our principles, no matter what happens around us. As Epictetus famously said, no man is free who is not master of himself. For him, consistency was a means of achieving that mastery. If we allow ourselves to be ruled by fleeting moods, fluctuating desires, or the opinions of others, we become slaves to forces beyond our control, unable to act according to our highest values. True freedom, then, is not about doing whatever we want, but about being able to choose and act in alignment with our own principles, regardless of external circumstances. And that kind of mastery can only be achieved through steady, consistent effort, day after day. The Stoics believe that every time we choose to act consistently with our values, we reinforce our inner freedom, aligning our actions with the person we truly want to be. This consistency creates a steady rhythm in our lives, a rhythm we can rely on, so that no matter what storms may come, we know we can stand firm. Consistency frees us from being swept away by the ever-changing tides of emotion. Imagine, for a moment, if we only worked, exercised, or pursued our goals when we felt like it. Our lives would be in constant flux, endlessly pulled by shifting feelings and desires. Marcus Aurelius understood this well, famously reminding himself to waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. For him, true freedom wasn't the ability to follow fleeting desires, but the ability to act in line with his principles, regardless of how he felt at any given moment. Each consistent action builds resilience, fortifying us against the highs and lows of daily life. With consistency, we gain a sense of stability that no passing emotion can easily shake. Carl Jung echoed a similar sentiment when he spoke of the privilege of a lifetime being the opportunity to become who we truly are. But to become that person requires a commitment to daily actions that align with our highest self. This is where consistency plays a vital role. Consistency isn't about mindlessly following routines for the sake of habit, it's about building a structure in our lives that supports growth and transformation. Each time we honor this structure, we free ourselves from the impulses and fears that hold us back. We become less reactive and more deliberate in our choices, ultimately gaining greater control over our destiny. The more we practice consistency, the more we shape ourselves into the person we wish to become, and the freer we are to live according to our values. The Stoics saw freedom not as a life without boundaries, but as a life governed by self-made boundaries. To them, true freedom wasn't the absence of rules but the presence of the right ones. They understood that if we don't set our own limits, the world will impose them on us. Consistency, in this sense, is what allows us to live by our own design rather than by default. When we consistently act in line with our values, we create a life that reflects our true priorities, rather than simply reacting to the day's distractions or demands. In a world that constantly pulls us in different directions, consistency becomes a form of resistance. It's a way of saying, I know who I am, and I know what I stand for. This resistance is not against others but against the forces that would otherwise cause us to lose ourselves in the noise of life. In practical terms, consistency also creates freedom by removing decision fatigue. When we build habits based on our values, we no longer have to constantly decide whether or not to act on them. Just like a skilled musician who no longer thinks about each note but plays with freedom through practice, we too can move through life with ease when our actions align with our principles. This is what the Stoics aspired to, a state where their character, not their moods or external circumstances, dictated their actions. This kind of freedom, born from consistency, brings a quiet confidence that cannot be shaken. It's the freedom that comes from knowing that no matter what the day brings, we are prepared to meet it with strength and resilience. By committing to consistency, we make ourselves immune to the chaos of the external world. It is this commitment to consistency that allows us to live in harmony with our values and cultivate the inner peace that the Stoics so deeply cherished. The Stoic path to freedom was not just about discipline, it was about achieving a state of mind where one could remain calm, focused, and unswayed by external circumstances. This is a profound kind of freedom. Freedom from the need for approval, freedom from the fear of failure, and freedom from the pull of immediate gratification. While freedom and consistency may seem like opposites at first, they are, in fact, two sides of the same coin. Consistency enables us to live with purpose and clarity. It allows us to build a life on our own terms, one that is aligned with our values and unswayed by fleeting distractions. This kind of freedom is grounded in discipline and self-mastery, and it is a freedom that no external force can take away. It is the freedom the Stoics believed in, freedom rooted in who we truly are, and strengthened by the daily choices we make. This is the Stoic call to action, to bring your values to life, to turn what you know into what you do. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. This idea strikes at the core of the Stoic approach. Don't get caught up in endless thoughts about what you could do or what others think. Instead, let your actions speak for you. This is the moment to stop waiting for the perfect time or conditions. It's the moment to begin where you are, with what you have, taking steps that align with your purpose. For the Stoics, philosophy wasn't just an abstract discipline but a practical guide for living. Every day brought new opportunities to practice courage, temperance, and justice. It wasn't about perfection, it was about intentionality. As Seneca said, begin at once. The true test of philosophy is not in intellectual understanding but in the actions we take, guided by our values, day after day. To live and count each separate day as a separate life, this is the Stoic challenge. It's not about waiting for a grand moment of transformation but treating every single day as a practice, a chance to get closer to the person you want to become. Every morning, you have the opportunity to ask yourself, how will I live today? What actions will align me with my values? Carl Jung, who delved deeply into the journey of self-awareness, believed that you are what you do, not what you say you'll do. Our intentions, however noble, remain merely thoughts until they manifest through action. It's easy to get caught up in planning, preparing, and envisioning the person we want to be, but the real challenge lies in showing up, especially when it's inconvenient or difficult. Jung would argue that every time we choose action over idle contemplation, we strengthen our authentic self, breaking through the resistance of the shadow, the part of us that clings to comfort and safety. Each small act, no matter how seemingly insignificant, is a building block in the foundation of our character. The Stoics understood that we are not born virtuous, we become virtuous through practice. Just as an athlete trains to strengthen their body, we can train our minds and will through consistent practice of Stoic principles. If we want to become more resilient, we need to act resiliently every day, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's challenging. Every choice to take action and step into our values reinforces the habits of mind and spirit that shape who we are. In moments of doubt, these choices become the bedrock of our resilience and the true measure of our character. The Stoics would remind us to return to our principles. As Epictetus advised, we should constantly remind ourselves of what we truly value and then make every decision with those values in mind. This is the call to action, to bring mindfulness into our daily lives and make our values the compass that guides our choices. It doesn't require grand gestures, it requires small acts done consistently with integrity and awareness. Imagine what your life would look like if each day you practiced one small act aligned with your values, whether it's choosing patience over anger, discipline over procrastination, or gratitude over complaint. These choices, made daily, build up over time, shaping our character and, ultimately, our life's path. This is the Stoic journey, a journey that begins not in times of ease or comfort but in moments of challenge. It's about taking ownership, deciding that you will shape your life rather than letting your circumstances or impulses shape you. Remember, the power of Stoicism isn't in grand gestures but in the quiet, steady commitment to live by your principles every single day. True strength is built in those small, consistent actions, choosing discipline over comfort, purpose over convenience. Every decision, every moment, is a chance to shape the person you want to become. Thank you for being here and for being a part of the Stoic journey. If you're ready to dive deeper into the Stoic path, check out one of the videos on your screen now. Until next time, keep practicing, stay resilient, and live true to your values.